All right.
We can start. All right. Okay, well, good morning, good afternoon, everybody, and we're happy to have you with us for the first Arab Caucus meeting during CSW66. Same as last year, we're having this meeting online and in English. Before we start, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Lina Abu Habib, and I'm together with my colleague, Diana Abu Abbas, we're the co-chairs of for the Arab regions for NGO CSW New York. And we're happy to have you during this exceptional CSW, given the subject matter that's being discussed and its implication on the MENA region. A couple of housekeeping points before we start. We've learned a lot from doing the caucus meetings online from last year. And NGO CSW has developed guidelines, safety guidelines, to keep this space safe, to keep this space free from any form of harassment, bullying, and also mansplaining, which we consider to be as unacceptable as anything else. My colleague Diana, if anybody feels that anything is uncomfortable or aggressive or hostile in any way, please drop a note to Diana, my colleague, and we will address this right away. I want to welcome our wonderful friends from NGO CSW New York. First, Devon, without whom none of this would be happening and we wouldn't be in this room. Thank you, Devon. And our chair, Houri Godolekian, who's not only the chair of NGO CSW New York, but she's an honorary MENA citizen. I want to ask Houri to kick us off with a few comments about the CSW before we begin the Arab Caucus meeting. So over to you, Houri.
Thank you, Lina. Yes, I always feel like there's a little piece of me in Lebanon. Obviously, I was born there, so I'm very, very happy to see and hear from you all your concerns and how we can really collaborate together for a better outcome every single year. Now, one of the things we've been saying, and I want to just repeat, we work really hard to pull this together for CSW, 2 weeks of CSW. And of course, you heard UN decided, and I want to be very clear, UN security and whoever is in charge there decided to open up the doors the day before CSW for civil society. So there was no way people could have been prepared. Most of us didn't have our grounds passes to even get in, but we do have access through UN Women, and this year more than ever through member states to have our voices heard. We had our second virtual Vienna Cafe yesterday where 5 member states showed up, which it was a few people actually canceled last minute as usual, but it was amazing. So we're having a good interaction with member states and UN Women. Yet and of course the Bureau is really strong this year. We've been in negotiations with them since September. Yet I'm not confident that we can still make the move to what it is that we expect from CSW, true action, through implementation. So let's keep talking about how we can make CSW stronger throughout the year. That was the point I was going to make. It's not just the 2 weeks, that there will be a follow-up and that we can stay in touch and make the connection between the national, regional, and the global. I think we've gotten better since I started working with Lina, let's say, but we're not even halfway there. I think it can be a lot stronger. So please think of yourself as the individual connected to the global, because we at the global are always thinking, how can we be connected to the individual? Thanks, Lina, and I can't wait to listen in.
Thank you, Houri. Usually, I think I'm going to ask Devon just for confirmation. We have an hour and a half, right? Or an hour?
1 hour, yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Diana and I had a long conversation about, how do we frame this conversation today? And one, the essential issue that came out is in relation to the MENA region, thinking about and conceptualizing and also intervening on the connection between climate justice and and gender equality has yet to take off in the MENA region. And we wanted this to be, if you all agree, we wanted this to be a space where we discuss how do we make this happen? How do we push this conversation? How do we push for the interest in this region without, a region that is, as we always say, always in and out of conflict, if not actually in active conflict. We do have currently, I think, 3 or 4 active conflicts taking place, occupation, etc. And then, a feminist movement that is trying to push very hard against, on the one hand, oppressive regimes, and also militarized societies, as well as conservative societies as well. So with this in mind, we would like to open the floor to, have a free-flowing conversation on what we can do, what we can make, how we can make this part of the conversation in the MENA region and part of the feminist activism in the MENA region. And how can we make this, as Huri was saying, our kind of program between CSW66 and CSW and the upcoming CSW67. So with this in mind, I'm going to open the floor for I see that we have, if you could just raise your hand and we'll take people in turn. But I see that we have with us our wonderful colleague from Palestine, Hadeel. And I know that Hadeel has been very much involved in the conversation, research, and activism on gender and climate justice. And I don't know, Hadeel, if you would like to kick us off on this conversation, given your experience, what you have been involved to in the region and more globally.
Everyone, I'm so honored to be here, and this is something that I was also looking for and really hoping to build a voice for the. So Carmen, 1 minute, please. That she will let me know. Sorry, can you hear me better now?
Yes. And may I interrupt you, Hadeel? Just want to reiterate what Huri has put in the box. So if we can all just include in the chat our names and affiliation, just to get to know each other informally. Tfaddali, Hadeel. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
It's okay. I work with Oxfam International as the MENA Regional Platform Gender Coordinator. So I'm based in Palestine, a place which is affected both by conflict and climate change very much. There are so many issues around climate change, heat waves, sandstorms, etc. Now we are in a cold wave and everyone is affected from the frost and snow, which is unusual for this time of the year. However, my interest in the issue of climate justice and gender really goes way back when I worked for many years with the Heinrich Böll Foundation. And at that time, we were trying to move this issue further. We realized that the feminist movement in the region is not interested, I don't want to say not interested, but they don't maintain the linkages between climate change, climate justice, and gender justice. They feel that this is a Western agenda. When we had engaged with different conversations with our partners, they say, why do you want us to work on this issue while we struggle with violence, with poverty, with lack of work opportunities, and so many other things? And I keep saying, but the root causes of all these issues is the same. It's similar, it's the same patriarchal attitudes, it's the same capitalism and lack of equity and equality in distribution of resources. Therefore, right now we are engaging very systemically and strategically with climate justice with different colleagues. We are partnering with MENA, some of you may know, as well as all our partners in having feminist convenings and debates inside the feminist movement to discuss the linkages and the levers of change and why we need to be to have the ecofeminism as central to our feminist movements in the region, because a change wouldn't happen without really being engaged and really tackling the root causes of all our inequality issues, including, of course, gender justice and climate justice. So that's where we are now. Issues are variable and they are also similar. So it's not about changing in weather only. It's about the long-term changes that climate issues are causing in terms of accessing jobs, burden of women, unpaid care responsibilities, burden of accessing resources, the scarcity of water that is affecting all of us across the region, and how it's influencing agriculture and access to food, and the ability of women to prove themselves, and also to save the burden of women securing the household income and food for their families. These are small issues, and also just to close and to end, because I'm sure many of you also have issues around this. So the connection between conflict and climate justice, how migration and wars are driven by water resources, water scarcity, and people and families, are, including women and children, are forced to leave their homes due to climate justice, while the link, climate change, while the link is not very clear and maintained. I will stop here, but I'm sure there are so many other issues to discuss. Thank you.
Thank you, Hadeel. Hadeel, I don't know if you want to put in the chat the link to the study that that you had sent us yesterday, also about the work that Oxfam is doing on the feminist recovery and climate justice. I think all of our participants will find it helpful.
I will.
I don't see hands up so far, but I see that Nawal Mdallali is with us, and I know how much Nawal is working on the issues related to refugees and to climate in Lebanon. So I don't know, Nawal, I don't want to pressure you, but it would be, from your standpoint, I don't know if you would like to share with us some of the key issues that you think we should be thinking at during this CSW as MENA region, and then all throughout the next year. Nawal?
Yes, hello.
Hey,
Hi. Hi, Lina. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Nawal. Nawal?
As we are, you are not listening?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead. We had problems hearing you first. Can you go ahead, Nawal?
Are you listening?
Yes, yes.
I thought I have a problem. Okay, I'm the director of SAWA for development in Bekaa Valley. Our main work is with women, and mainly the refugees women. So for the climate change, we know that it's extreme, degrade the ecosystem in all worlds, and especially in Bekaa. We know that we have many problems with the agriculture, for example, for the economy, for the women, and it will be affected, mainly the women, because they will not find a job, and it burns on women and girls, burns on women and girls increase in Bekaa Valley. And we have limited opportunity for education, for income, and also it increases the exposure to violence, because
we can't hear you, Nawal. I'm going to have to stop because
you don't have the education. The violence will increase.
Nawal, this is the realities of Lebanon nowadays. The infrastructure, particularly the internet infrastructure, is very, very, very problematic. So I'm very sorry about this. Nawal, if you have a way to reconnect from a different, connection, maybe we can hear you, because at the end we lost you completely. Can I ask our participants? Thank you, Nawal. Can I ask if anybody would like to comment from our participants? I see some of the people that I know and others that I don't know. So anybody would like to comment on how do we make this question central to the movement in the MENA region?
Lina, we have Zena Abdul Khaliq from the Judea Feminist Fund.
Okay, Zena.
Hello, everyone.
Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Zena Abdul Khaliq. I'm a co-CEO for the Judea Feminist Fund, the first feminist fund from and to the MENA region. So basically, I would like to explore how the RIA, I want to explore with you how the RIA is actually responding to the issue of climate justice. And I think the main idea is that we all know that girls, women, and marginalized groups are those who bear the brunt actually of the unjust environmental policies. So we are trying to reach out to feminist groups which are usually left out with their voices being not heard due to their presence at the grassroots level or for their lack of resources. So trying to amplify those voices of marginalized women and LGBTQ communities in their pursuit of social justice and its various manifestations, including climate justice, is one way actually that we aspire would enable the activism towards climate justice. On the other hand as well, I think having, and this was reiterated by the Secretary General yesterday and by all the interventions that took place, the need to have more women in the decision-making spheres, having more women at the panels where the environmental policies are enacted. So one of the main thematic areas that we are trying to work on, particularly in a context like the MENA region with constant conflicts and political upheavals, to support women actually, and to support the feminist movement in bringing out the voices of those women who could actually take the floor, be present in the committees, also in the, we can't talk about the MENA region without giving a due emphasis to countries in conflict, which usually exacerbates all forms of violence, including environmental violence, since the rule of law is actually minimal in cases of conflict. So having more women present in the discussions, in the negotiations, in the peace building processes is also what we're trying to do, and it's all interlinked actually to climate justice and social justice. And recently, we've been also approaching climate justice through the collective care culture. So we think that well-being and collective care extends beyond individuals to communities, but also to the ecosystem that we interact with at large. So it's not about only us being present, it's about preserving the resources to future generations, which is actually also interlinked with sustaining the feminist movement. So we're trying, to embed the culture of collective care for us as feminists, as activists, but also for the nature, the environment, and the whole ecosystem that we interact with. Thank you.
Thank you, Zena. Do you want to also add in the chat the website if people want to check it out? Okay. I don't think I see other hands, but there's an important note that I saw in the chat. Let me just, okay. And I think it's from Wajdan. And maybe if I can ask you, Wajdan is talking about a roadmap of actions. Wajdan, do you want to, expand your idea, share it with us? How, and I think you're talking more, not much about the feminist civil society, but about the role of the states. And when we talk about states, in the MENA region, we know very well that they're not incredibly responsive. So could you share your idea with us, Wajdan? Wajdan Hussein. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Wajdan?
Hello, everyone. I'm sorry, my internet connection is stable, so I'll try to make it quick. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Wajdan, we can hear you.
I'm sorry, my internet connection is not stable, so I'll try to make it as quick as possible.
Okay.
Actually, this is okay. My idea is I've been attending different panels and parallel and side events, and it's obvious that we have very good agenda of what to do, but not how to push states to do it. Because at the end, the vote in this conference and as well as other agencies is always given to the state. I believe that NGOs and trade unions should not be observers only. They should have a vote. They should participate as partners and not observers. And we need to work on this because if we lobby, especially as you said, the Arab states, we always lobby them against their will. So we have to reconsider the structure of voting. If it's clear, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Wajdan, we can hear you. Yeah, Wajdan, we can hear you. Yes.
We need a road map of action, not ideas. Yesterday, I attended the African Caucus, and they had lovely document and they had very clear idea what they need. And but again, they were all kept asking how to implement it. So we need to move from ideas into action. And we cannot do this by keep begging states. We need to have a vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Wajdan. Actually, speaking of this, is it okay if I circle back to Zena? Because I know you had the regional pre-CSW meeting, Zena, and it was a regional meeting, physical meeting as well. Is there any, looking at practically what to do, is there any outcome that you want to share with us in terms of what did the participants in the meeting agree to for this CSW and beyond?
Yeah, so basically, and we also had an event yesterday in the NGO CSW parallel events where our regional representatives actually presented the situation of women in different MENA countries and the way forward, how they perceive the way forward. But what I can say is that despite that the level of conflict is different in the various countries in the MENA, yet it was highlighted by all of the participants, this is the priority. Working on peace building is a priority. Actually, like building a feminist roadmap to peace is the way that they perceive best to achieve the various priorities. I mean, given now that we're talking about climate justice, including climate justice, but all forms of violence circle back to, or actually are aggravated by conflict. So even in countries where there's no conflict now, the repercussions of the conflict that's taking place in other countries is affecting those countries. And many countries are also in the phase of or are in need for transitional justice, which haven't taken place anywhere yet in any of the Arab countries. So basically, we're working now together on developing what we're calling a roadmap for feminist roadmap for peace in the MENA region.
Thank you so much. And I see that Zena Ghamlouch from the Baha'i Society is, sorry, I again might have used the wrong terms, but Zena Ghamlouch is with us, and she is also talking about the critical role of the UN in shaping international policy. Zena, do you want to share with us and unpack your thoughts a bit more?
Thank you so much, Lina. Good to see you again. So basically that's the idea. I feel that this space is basically a good opportunity where the UN can, support such initiatives like the initiatives that foster a greater appreciation of the imperatives of gender equality, sharing knowledge, created by actors at all levels, like local levels, international level, everywhere. And in this regard, like important considerations as how institutional and societal arrangements can be reconfigured to enable women's meaningful participation, as well as how cohesive societies can be forged even before the onset of catastrophe, could be revisited periodically in international spaces such as the CSW that we're joining now. So the UN has a great, role to support this. Thank you.
And I think maybe with your comments, I really want to circle back to Houri. Houri, you've been you've been present in the other caucuses, and I think it's important for folks and colleagues and friends from the MENA region, the activists from the MENA region, to also be apprised a little bit, or know a little bit what are the conversations like on this issue in the other regions. Is there, could you perhaps share with us some, and where do you see there's some learning and connections that can be made?
Absolutely. Excuse me, morning voice. Okay. So there's 2 points I want to make. First of all, it is really great that I saw some members here that were at the African region yesterday. It's really nice that there's some overlap sometimes, because we can learn from each other a lot. I'm sorry, 1 second. And I love what I'm hearing about really pressuring. And I don't remember the name, but when she said voting, we know that there's no voting at UN, right? It's just negotiations, and it is agreed conclusions. And a lot of times I would be really frustrated to say that these documents that we fight, the words and the commitments that we fight so hard on, at the end of the day, there's no way of holding them accountable in any court, right? It's just agreements, and it's just pressure from civil society that has to make governments work with us to implement them. But I think over the years, I've softened up on that and said, CEDAW withstanding and human rights agreements withstanding, there's something really amazing about CSW on how it really comes together with all of these consultations, thinking, recommendations. And then like I said earlier, noticed a difference in at least some member states realizing that they are not going to succeed without the feminist movement and without the groundswell of activists and even, just basic rural women who are doing the work already that they would aspire to accomplish. Women are doing the work already. If you think about in any topic, like with climate, for example, farmers are figuring out ways of adjusting to weather changes, right? And I would love to hear even our sister Hadeel, like the Palestinian villagers with the cold weather, how are they adjusting to it, to really make sure that their crops do survive? And they're realizing, and especially because at the global level at UN, and Lina knows this even more than I do, over the years, every time we get friendly with the member states and we educate them on what it is that needs to be done, within a year or two, they go back to their country and another ambassador or another expert comes into the mission, and we have to educate them again. So they are realizing that those breakdowns are affecting the progression that we need, right? So they know that we are more consistent, we are constant, right? The activists, the feminists, and the women on the ground are constant. Most of us, I mean, I've only been around for 10 years. Some of us are 40, 50 years. And that makes us more of an expert. So I think it's really important to keep leveraging and to keep working on how can we together come to solutions that benefits everybody. And I know this sounds, yeah, sure, duh, but it's not as easy as we keep saying it, right? So how do we actually do it? So one of the things I thought about, and again, this is just conversations right now, the document itself, we're never completely satisfied. When the outcome document comes out, it's like, all right, this works and this doesn't work and this language is not what we wanted. But there's always, even with the Beijing Platform for Action, which is not perfect, there's so much in there that still needs to be implemented, right? Why can't we regionally too? Because globally, we can't enforce this and we shouldn't. You know what you need more this year than last year or next year, right? What is the most important thing that needs to be done? For example, in Lebanon, in Beirut, it's infrastructure more than anything else. So how do we really bring agreed conclusions to say, look, on a global level, because that's the other thing I want to really interject quickly. Governments do care how they look at a global level, because that's where they're getting the funding. That's where the European countries are helping them. So they want to look good and say that, oh yeah, we worked with our citizens and we improved this, because they can I say bullshit? Yes. They bullshit themselves through their conversation because, oh, it is being recorded. Okay, you guys can quote me. Yeah. You know, they make all these comments that they're achieving, and we know they're not achieving. So it is really important that we keep holding their feet to the fire back on the ground and say, look, just highlight those sentences that really work for you, right? So I think that's really important. And you all know how to really hold your governments accountable because you've been doing it for years, from your local level to the national level. I hope I made sense, Lina, and I'm sorry I cursed.
It's okay. I mean, okay, just so that you don't feel alone. Of course, they bullshit their way. So there's two of us now. And I know that Diana wants to jump in, our amazing co-chair for the Arab region. Diana?
Thank you, Lina. Yes, away from all this bullshit. You know, just to build on what everyone has been saying, now, Hudi, you made me think that how can we work with our governments so that we don't have to re-educate everyone who comes into the mission. You know, that's key so that we can sustain the work that we are doing. I also wanted to talk about the roadmap and the feminist movement. If we're not an intersectional feminist movement, our work would be missing and leaving behind a lot of people. And here I am talking specifically about the LGBTQI community and people with disabilities. And I think that if we want to get what we want, we also have to start from ourselves and be accountable ourselves and make sure to include the most marginalized. I spoke about these two populations because I know that a lot of people are working on refugee rights and migrants, but at the same time, I know that in the MENA region, LGBTIQ people are not accepted. And I think that we need to start working on ourselves to be inclusive and give space to those who are very different from us, even though sometimes we do not accept LGBTIQ because of religion or social reasons. But we need to understand that we are all under the feminist umbrella and under the intersectional feminist umbrella. And that's how we get more power, and that's how we can serve everyone more. So we have to start within ourselves and make sure that those who always pay the higher costs for oppression, for conflict, and for the climate change are included. So in this sense, I would like to call on everyone to provide spaces and voices for those who are most marginalized in the region. Thank you.
Thanks, Diana. And I think that was one of the reasons, if I may say so, Huri, why we had all this effort from last year to have this place inclusive and safe. And I totally agree with you, of course, Diana. And speaking of this, I know it's not just a technical issue, but Huri has included the safety guidelines, which I think are a good model in terms of how, the practicalities. What does it mean to make a space safe, inclusive, intersectional, and welcoming? And when disruption happens, how to deal with it. Are there any other comments? Otherwise, I would like to ask for, do people in this room, in this virtual room, would anybody like to share a suggestion, a tangible suggestion of how do we carry this conversation forward during and after CSW? And perhaps I could kick off this conversation myself by saying that together with Hadeel, whom I will re-invite to the conversation, which is what I always do, I'm sorry. But we do have a series of convenings of feminist circles that will take place on a regional level, which we would like to kind of shape around this specific issue. And I would like to invite Hadeel back, because this is kind of modeled around, the feminist and climate just recovery initiative that Hadeel has been involved in. But also, Hadeel, if you could just, I think what is important is also if you could just help us look at a global initiative that you're involved in, and how does it link and how does it unfold at the local level in the case of Palestine, for instance. And then I think we have Marlyn Tadros after Hadeel. Hadeel? Hadeel? I think it's all our infrastructure in the region. Hadeel?
Perhaps we can go to Marlyn until Hadeel is capable.
Marlyn?
How are you? Thank you for this great session. It came as a surprise, actually, for me. But yes, I want to say that, as Hadeel was saying, the feminists in Egypt, for example, and in the Arab world in general, are not into that topic very much of the environment. I think that they think that it is something marginal, more than being central. And I think that right now it should be central, especially in Egypt, where we do have a water crisis. There is a water scarcity and a water crisis that's happening that might even lead into a conflict, a big conflict with Ethiopia. So we are in a sort of bind, but the problem is that the government is not very friendly to civil society. And so our voices are not really being heard either. And we're being marginalized. So it's very difficult to get in on the conversation unless we do it in a very tactical way. So we would need a strategy to be involved. But the government is making decisions for us that will affect women, that will affect farmers, and of course, it will include, increase poverty. And I'm thinking, for example, of how they are directing water, scarce water, to new cities, and it's and building a city that is really more for the rich than it is for the it's not accessible to the poor. So it is a crisis, and like I said, we need to have, I think, a strategy of how to approach these types of governments, the oppressive type of governments, which I think are more or less the majority in our region. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you also for drawing this link between a conflict that is looming, which is there in this region, yet another one, which is directly linked to climate. So thank you, Marlyn. I think that certainly needs to be part of our conversation. I know that Hadeel is back, and maybe Hadeel, I can give you the last word, and then I would like to ask Diana to remind all of us of the second meeting of the Arab Caucus during this CSW. So Hadeel, do you think you can? I know she was Devon. I know Hadeel was in the waiting room.
She's here.
Okay, thank you, Habibti. Hadeel.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really sorry. I lost the connection just when I was hearing my name. But I'm back now. And Lina, if you want to ask your question, the one you asked me before I left.
Yeah, I was saying, Hadeel, it would be interesting for us if you could just give us a few pointers of the Feminist Just Recovery initiative that you're very much invested in globally, and then how does it connect with Palestine, with the situation of women and girls and their diversity in Palestine, and the activism that is happening there. So just giving this example, because it's really happening as we speak, and I'd appreciate if we hear from you. And then we close up.
Yes, thank you very much. In fact, it's an Oxfam initiative, but I want to also talk about other Arab feminist initiatives that we are embarking on, because I also believe, while Oxfam globally has been raising the question about a just recovery post-COVID. We are not out of COVID yet, but what COVID pandemic told us, there were some very, very crucial issues, including the level of inequality, all forms of inequality, especially around gender justice, but not only, and how there are different illustration of how the current economic system that is based on profit and valuing only monetary values, including on the national GDPs and others, are not working for anyone. And how what saved most parts of the world during the pandemic was women contributions to the value of work, including their unpaid care responsibilities underpaid care work, including domestic workers or women in the informal sector, and all of these who were left out of the responses from governments in particular. So we were raising these questions in the last couple of years, but now we are in the process of asking women, feminist movements, women rights activists, about what do you envision as change? How would you see a different world? What needs to be considered? And there are different recommendations coming from the ground. We call it valuing women work in all its forms, in all its conditionalities, and actually acknowledging it and reflecting it in the social welfare system, in the possibilities for compensations, in the government responses, in the way wealth is distributed, in the way wealthy people are taxed, and how they can be, these taxations can be reflected in reversing the damage that have been done to the earth, the planet, and to the communities. So that's what we are trying to do, and in the process of building a momentum within the MENA region with lots of our activists, including with you, Lina, and others, about, okay, how do we envision as women in this region a just recovery, and what does it mean for us? So that's what we will be working on. And I have been listening to questions about how we can action this, how we can bring this to reality. And it's not about slogans or activism in the form of protesting against certain practices, but actually in reflecting reality of work and changing the way we relate to each other, we acknowledge each other, and the way that we go back to different forms of reduction that are not focusing on a profit, but focusing on the well-being of the individuals, the communities, and Earth or planet. So that's what we are working on. And if you look at the paper I posted in the chat about the ethics of care, you will find that these are the levels of care that we are talking about. It's not just the women caring for the children, needy and disabled, but it's the care for the individual, the community, and the planet as such. And that's where we are now. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Hadeel. I see a hand up. It's thank you a lot, Hadeel. I see Dalaman. So
you can call me Zainab also, Lina. I have another easier name, Zainab. Yes. Zainab is my Arabic name. Banu is my Persian name. So Zainab Banu. I want to say hello to everybody. I want to direct another dimension of difficulties that we are living in Turkey. Other than the difficulties of women living in Turkey, I want to talk about the feminization of migration. As you know, we have received so many Syrian migrant women in Turkey, for more than 4 million Syrian migrants now residing in Turkey. 49% of this population is women. And I conduct a project in the southern part of Turkey. Perhaps you know the name Şanlıurfa. This city is the most receiving Syrian refugees. And the most of the problem that we are living in Turkey, as Syrian people are basically Arabics and they don't speak any language than Arabics, they live many problems in Turkey. And the project that I'm working on it is the schooling of girls. 56% of the girls living in Şanlıurfa cannot attend school because of the illiteracy of the families, because they are forced, they want to marry the girls. The Syrian people who are living in this area are typically, their culture give permission to have marriage at early age. So we have a problem of forced and early marriage, even from the Turkish citizen also, but the case of Syrian women, Syrian girls, is a big problem. So we have to deal also with this feminization of migration also in the MENA region, I think. I will perhaps give more detailed information in the next session. I want just to say hello to everybody. Thank you very much, Lina, to give me the speech.
Thank you, Zainab. And I think we're always happy to have with us our feminist sisters from Turkey. You know, the way the colonizers divided us,
Yes.
really unfortunate. I think we need to disrupt this useless geographical division. So. And with this, I think I'm going to give back the floor to first to Diana, just to remind us of the next meeting, and then the last words to our chairperson, Huri. Huri, don't yeah, it's you. I'm afraid you have no say in this.
Just you're my master, Lina. I've learned everything I know from you.
Diana.
Yeah, that makes two of us, Huri. So thank you all for your participation today. I would like to remind you that next week on Thursday, 25th, at the same time, we will be having our second Arab States MENA Caucus. So come back again, because it will also be a different group of people. And we will be interested to hear from everyone and to share our thoughts with everybody who will be attending. I posted the link. Devin has posted the link again. Thank you, Devin. So please register and share the link among your circles. Huri?
All right, thank you. Well, I show up to these meetings because you all energize me. I need this kind of collaboration, this kind of conversation, so that I can go back and say, okay, you need to work harder, you need to make more connections, you need to talk more. Now, the issue is that the patriarchy is there that we need to finally crush. I mean, this is my ultimate message to everyone, is to realize how much, I mean, even the fact that what Lina just said with Zaina about geography and colonialism, I mean, the war in Ukraine is because of patriarchy. It's the masculinity of militarism of this world that is crushing us. And here we are gathering together and working together in such a nice way. I mean, look at this meeting, the ideas that came from all different regions and countries is just so inspiring. Now, that doesn't mean that this type of conversation is not happening at the member state level. I have been present with certain members who really do care, who really do want to make a difference, and who are making money off of our backs that they want to give back to us. You know, let's speak the truth there as well. The private sector that we consider the enemy sometimes did make that money because of us, right? So we need to grab that money back from them so that we can put it into good use and make a difference on the ground. So I'm so glad that you all came today. I am so glad that you are doing everything that you're doing on the ground. And I loved, who is that? Marlyn, I think, Tadros. She put that note about how water, there was going to be a war, and she's like, I'm optimistic. And that is like something that I honestly am so proud of, because that truly is the message I bring as an Armenian from Lebanon. I mean, you know, my grandparents survived the genocide. My parents survived the civil war, and I survived an early marriage. And guess what? I'm not giving up. So here we are. But yeah, let's just keep being completely, oh, thank you. Let's just keep not give up. Oh, I know another thing I was going to say about water. Flint, Michigan, right? So this issue is not just geographical. It is, again, about power and control and patriarchy. I'm going to keep saying it. And Devin and I were joking, because Devin, who actually lives in Brooklyn, she's having Wi-Fi issues. And I'm like, seriously? You know, we have to invoke our spirits to fight, you know, all of these other issues that really try to slow us down. But I'm going to stop here. You know I'm passionate about this topic. You know I am here to help in any way I can. Let's meet again next week. And yes, do visit other caucuses. There's the North American one at 10:30 that I'm going to be at as well, to see what is happening conversationally, and then how can we put that into action. And hopefully next week, I'll end it with a much more concrete steps that we need to take going forward after CSW. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And before we go, I put my email in the chat box. Diana, if I may ask you also to put your email as both. Well done. As the co-chairs for this Arab Caucus, please email us with anything. You know, if there's anything that you would like us to take into consideration during the next Arab Caucus meeting, if there are concrete actions that you would like to suggest that we carry out after the CSW, whatever, please let us know. And then if you have suggestions for, oh, I already said that, but anyway, I'll say it again. If you have suggestions of points that you would like us to bring up during the next meeting, please let us know. Otherwise, have a great CSW66. Thank you for being here. And a big feminist hug to each and every one of you. Thank you so much. Devon, thank you so much. Our amazing colleague. Thank you, Devon, and a big shout out to Devon.
Thank you, Devon.
Thanks, everyone. See you next week or
attending.
another meeting. Everybody
Bye.
talk. Bye.
Bye-bye.